Hello and what's up, political peeps? Per usual, I'm your host Arav Kapoor, but today I'm the GeoPolitical on the road here at Manhattan's Grey Bar building, right next to a historic Grand Central Terminal. Across from me, Metro North's president, Justin R. Vonashek. Welcome to the GeoPolitical.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Long-time guest I've wanted to have on. Really excited to talk about your career. You have so much experience in working in public transportation, and Metro North has changed so much, and you've done such a great job with ridership to different initiatives during your time here as president. First, before we dive into our conversation, I just want to say thank you for having me. This is such a wonderful building. Your entire team gave me and my dad, thanks for coming, Dad, such a warm welcome. So, I'm honored to be here.
I'm honored to have you here. We're really excited about this opportunity.
Well, so the first thing to dive into the conversation, the MTA in New York City is in such a unique position in terms of public transportation compared to the rest of the country, because really all people ride public transportation, from the poor people to the rich people to the people working in banks to the people working fast food jobs. And it's something that we don't see in other cities and regions throughout the United States. So Metro North's in this very unique position. But before you came to Metro North, kind of to talk about your career, you worked in Boston with Keolis and also in Chicago with Metra. So how has your experience working on public transportation throughout the country kind of helped you at Metro North, and how is the MTA unique and different?
So each of them have their own different challenges, right? So I started my career in Chicago at Metra about 20 years ago. I started as a transportation specialist in the transportation department. Worked my way up through operations. I finished my career there as director of regulatory compliance. Then I moved to Boston, worked for Keolis, which was the operator of the commuter rail for the MBTA. I was the chief safety, security, emergency preparedness, and regulatory compliance officer. Did that for 2 years, and then I came here to Metro North about 10 years ago as the vice president of system safety. Then I moved over to the operational side. I was senior VP of operations. Then I was EVP and COO, and then I've been president since April 1st, April Fool's Day.
Right.
So
but your presidency is not a joke.
No, I hope not. But thank you for that. So each of them have their own different challenges, right? But I think the ultimate goal is always the same. It's how we move customers to where they want to be. It's how we create opportunities, right? I always say transportation is really the greatest equalizer. Yeah. And one of the things we've really focused on here at Metro North is really changing how we talk about our business, right? It's not so much about moving trains. We're moving people. Trains is just one of the mechanisms of how we actually do that. And I think once you start looking at the business a little differently, it starts to change how we look at our customers, how we look at the operation, and how we view everything from that lens.
Right, and it's important. Metro North really cares about the customers, and it's about moving people from place to place, and you host different events, Connect With Us events, the open houses. Now, this is obviously a really cool job. Before you went and worked in the public transportation field, you got your degree in transportation management from the University of Denver, but what do you learn getting a master's degree in transportation management, and what really drew you to this field at first?
So it's actually interesting. I actually did my undergrad in computer information systems at IIT in Chicago. And we were at a career fair. I was about to graduate college. Metra was the last station there. I had one resume left. They weren't hiring for anything, but I gave them the resume, and they called, and it ended up working out. But I never saw myself working in the transportation field. This wasn't a dream of mine. This wasn't the career path I thought I was going to follow. It just kind of worked out for me. And then when I was at Keolis, I had the opportunity to join University of Denver in a transportation program. And at that point, I was hooked on transportation, so it just made sense. And the University of Denver program is top notch. It's probably the best in the country. So having that opportunity to go and be part of that cohort, not just with commuter rail operators, but there's also Class 1 freights, shipping, different logistic companies. So it was everybody focused on transportation and logistics. So it was a real great opportunity, and I learned a lot through the program.
So you kind of stumbled onto this career path, and
100%.
then, well, what makes you come to work every day? What do you love most about this job now?
To me, it's really about the employees. We have the best employees in the business. MTA is top notch, and I really just love our employees and what they do. They care so much about our business and about our customers, and it really drives everything we do, and it keeps me excited about my job every single day.
Now, Like you mentioned before, you came to Metro North in 2016. You were the vice president of system safety. Then you became the senior vice president of operations. Then you were the executive vice president and the chief operating officer here at Metro North. Like you mentioned, April Fool's Day, you became the president of Metro North last year. What does it take to be the president? What does a day look like for you? You're running a railroad agency that serves people from all different places, all different types of people, hundreds of thousands of them a day.
So I think the best part about my job is no 2 days are the same. You come in the morning, you're expecting it to look one way and it looks completely different. So to me, that's probably the most exciting piece of it, which is pretty much the same when you're in operations. No day is the same, right? We've been dealing with weather the past couple of weeks here. Before that, there's always something else. So the days constantly change, and it's always about that opportunity. How do we continue to improve service for our customers? How do we continue to engage with our employees? Those are real focuses of ours here, and it's really what gets me excited about coming into work every day.
So what are your key responsibilities as the president of Metro North?
To drive the overall strategy of the business, to
Okay.
make sure we're in line, delivering for our customers, keeping our employees engaged. Like I said, those are real focuses of ours. And really just working with the team. It all starts with the team. We've built a tremendous team here. I think you could see it through our results. The team delivers on a daily basis, consistently, which is extremely hard to do in this business because, like, as I said earlier, you have weather, you have different issues such
So
as
many
grade
variables.
crossing issues. We have hundreds of thousands of customers. Some of them are regular customers, some of them are new customers. There's a ton of track work going on. We're constantly trying to improve the infrastructure, bring it to a state of good repair, looking at new initiatives like Penn Station Access. So there's a lot of exciting things going on.
Yeah, definitely want to chat about some of those initiatives and zoom into a bunch of the different work that you do with Metro North. Just to take a step back, look at the basics of the railroad. It's the second busiest commuter railroad, second biggest, I believe, in the country, only behind your sister agency, the Long Island Railroad. All these agencies are part of the big New York City MTA puzzle with the subway, the bus, but how does Metro North in your division of the MTA really fit into the bigger puzzle of transportation in the busiest metropolitan area?
Sure. So really it's one MTA, right? We all work together. It's all about having that one centralized MTA. And I think, especially with Grand Central Madison opening up, it's really about creating that regional mobility. Now, essentially, you could take a train from Poughkeepsie and go all the way to Montauk, right? And just connect right through Grand Central. So it's creating those opportunities. The regional mobility is really the focus, right? And now, as I said earlier, we're looking at Penn Station Access. That's going to do the same thing as well.
Yeah, and with Metro North, it's in a really unique position because you guys serve as a commuter railroad for people to go from the suburbs in Connecticut or upstate New York, but also you guys have city tickets where people can use it like kind of to supplement the subway, right? And go between two places in New York City. So there's a variety of different things you guys do here. So I kind of want to dive into the operations. Metro North is comprised of 5 different lines, 3 east of the Hudson, 2 that you all operate with New Jersey Transit. One of the lines, you guys, is the New Haven line. I live on the New Haven line.
Yep.
I've done coverage about that branch before. We came here on the New Haven line here to New York City.
Hopefully on time.
Early. It was 4 minutes early,
Great.
and we're so grateful for that. What does your relationship with the Connecticut Department of Transportation look like? I have, a lot of Connecticut viewers and a lot of people from Connecticut are watching this. So zooming into how this New York City agency, the New York State agency, works with the Connecticut Department of Transportation.
So we work hand in hand. Everything across the Connecticut border, we operate for Connecticut Department of Transportation. So it's a great relationship. I think you met with Ben Limmer not too long ago. He's obviously moved on, but Jeff Gonneville is on board, as well as the commissioner, Garrett Eucalito. It's a very good partnership. I think you can see by the service we provide on the New Haven line, it's obviously our highest ridership line. Last year, we were above 98% OTP, on-time performance for that line. So through that partnership, we're able to provide that safe, reliable service that the customers in Connecticut, and obviously we cross the border and serve people in New York on the Connecticut or New Haven line as well. They benefit from that relationship.
How does it work with the budgets and the money and fare increases? I know it's a little bit different than on the New York side of things with Connecticut.
So on the New Haven line, anything in Connecticut is driven by Connecticut Department of Transportation. Anything on the New York side is still decided by the MTA board. And in terms of the budget, there's a split depending on what asset you're discussing. But there is a portion split.
Okay, and the New Haven line, like you mentioned, it's the most used line. A lot of people consider it Metro North's flagship line because like you said, it has services in Connecticut, but also serves communities in New York, New Rochelle, and then it goes to the Bronx. It's a line which I think is really unique. People, instead of only riding it from, for example, wherever you're coming from in Connecticut to New York City, people will ride from point A to point B simply on the New Haven line, not coming to New York City necessarily. My dad used to commute from Fairfield, where we live, to Stamford all the time. I think that people can do that on the New Haven line because they're tighter downtowns in places like Stamford and New Haven, where people can really have mobility to go to their office and things like that. But the Metro North can fit into a bigger puzzle of lines like the Hudson and Harlem line, where we're going to places like Poughkeepsie, where we might not have the same ability to walk to wherever you're going to work. How do you work with municipalities, state level, to give people the incentive to ride public transportation?
It's really about providing that frequency and
Right.
that possibility, right? A lot of other commuter railroads throughout the country are now looking at reverse ridership and almost moving away from commuter railroad and starting to coin it regional rail, right? Many years ago, we dropped commuter railroad, right? It's just Metro North Railroad. It's not Metro North Commuter Railroad. And some of the things we really focused on was that reverse ridership. You mentioned Stamford coming from Fairfield, but we also have our highest reverse ridership coming from the city to Stamford, right? We also have the same thing from the city going to White Plains. So you have a lot of those same scenarios, people going to Terrytown. So it's really about providing those opportunities. And one of the ways you do that is through frequent service, right? You have to have those options for the customers to ride. When they don't have the options, if there's childcare issues or things like that, if they don't have options to easily get back home, they're not going to take the service. When you make it easy for people to take the service, they're going to ride the service much more frequently.
But beyond the service being good, it's what happens when you get to the closest station to your destination. There's what people in the transportation world, I know you're familiar with the term, the last mile. How do you deal with the last mile to get somebody from the nearest train station to wherever they're going to their work? I know you also serve on the executive committee of the American Public Transportation Association. They're working to get more people to ride public transportation, expand public transportation in the country. So to zoom out, New York City does a great job within the city, but for other places, other municipalities outside of the city, how do you fix that last mile?
It's really about creating those connections and working closely with the bus companies, especially in the Westchester, you have the B-Line. Companies like that help really make those connections. It's also working with certain businesses, large corporations that have the shuttle buses that come to the station. If you look in Stamford as well, there's the Harbor View right there. And a lot of those large apartment buildings have buses that come and meet our trains. It's basically, even in the buildings, they have our train schedules on their TVs in there. So it's really a combination of many things, but it's working with those other agencies and other partners to create those opportunities. And then, of course, we're trying to do things with bikes and things of that nature. Sometimes bikes don't work in weather like this. We've also seen a huge increase in people taking e-bikes and creating those opportunities there. We've modified some of our restrictions to allow certain things on board our trains as a result of that. So really just trying to keep up with whatever the industry is showing.
And obviously all of these things have been a long time goal of Metro North. Metro North had, super high ridership before the pandemic. Obviously, like all public transportation, it took a major hit during the pandemic. That was before you were president. But you were working with Metro North during the pandemic. So now your administration has done a great job really building back up the ridership. It was in the news when the 2025 ridership numbers came up. You guys have restored 86% of pre-pandemic era ridership, which is compared to around 75% that the average public transportation agency here in the United States has done. How have you been able to do that? Because I'll talk about this as we progress in our conversation, but when you have more people riding public transportation, that gives you the funding and it shows people in power that people want public transportation. But if people don't think public transportation is good, then that's because it's not well funded and you don't have the proper improvements. So it's a vicious cycle in a country like the United States where public transportation isn't necessarily a priority. So how are we building this ridership back up?
Again, it's really about creating those opportunities. If you look at the Bronx, right, with the city ticket, a lot of our Bronx stations are at 150% pre-pandemic. That's huge. That's huge. Overall, the Bronx is well over 100% what it was pre-pandemic. And if you think about 2019, how high our ridership is, to have the Bronx well over 100% is it's a huge win for us. You see some of the same things on the Waterbury line in Connecticut.
Right.
Ridership on that line is well over 100%. Again, some cases up to 150%. So it's really about creating those opportunities. In the Bronx, it was the city ticket. On the Waterbury line, we increased service. One of the other things we rolled out last year was the Super Express trains. We started on the New Haven line, then we rolled it out to the Hudson line. For those trains that were Super Express, we saw the ridership increase anywhere from 10 to 15%. We rolled it out on the New Haven in March and then October on the Hudson. So to see that increase that quickly is incredible, and it's a testament. I think as much as people love riding our trains and the employees do an amazing job, they also value their time, right? And they want to be home with their loved ones or doing other things. So I think the less time our customers have to spend on our trains, the more likely they're going to ride it, and I think that's a value proposition for them.
And I know you've done this for a long time, so I think this next question you'll be able to answer better than anyone else can. Despite the great work that your team is doing and to increase ridership, a lot of people, especially in the suburbs outside of New York City, are apprehensive to ride public transportation, despite all the improvements we've made in a place like New York City. Why is this?
I mean, that's a great question. That's something that we're always trying to figure out, right? Because once you figure that out, then you get them on board our trains.
Yeah.
But again, I think a lot of it is having that frequency, having those fast trains, especially anybody who lives in Connecticut, as many of your viewers do. Sitting on 95 is horrible. Horrible. So every time I'm on the train and I see everybody sitting there, I'm like, what is it going to take to get those people out of that car and onto our train? And I think a lot of times it's just giving them that one opportunity, and then they see the value of it. But again, if people think it's going to be quicker to drive, they're going to drive. So we need to figure out ways to make it quicker for people to get to their destination. One of the things we saw over the past holidays is ridership on those evening trains on the New Haven line. They were jam-packed, right? So we wanted to offer a new opportunity for customers, so we put out a Super Express train in the 9 o'clock hour, roughly, to give those customers that want to get to Stamford, Bridgeport, New Haven, a quicker ride home, which makes it more enticing to get those people to ride our trains, right? If it's going to take 2+ hours to get somewhere, it's less likely than if it's going to take less than 90 minutes. That's a huge time saving.
Right.
When you look at some of the savings that we saw on the New Haven line, somebody that rides the train every day, it saves them almost 9 days a year. I mean, imagine 9 days back in your life. I mean, that's huge, and those are some of the things that we're looking at for our customers. We also changed some of our fare policy recently to try to entice people to ride our trains. We have the day pass now, which I think is a huge win for us. We also have the opportunity now for any fare-paying adult to bring 3 children, 17 or under, for $1 each. I mean, that's a huge win, right? I mean, coming into the city to have to pay for parking, it makes much more sense just to ride our train. So we're trying to do things like that to entice people to ride our trains.
I'm 14. I paid $1 to get here today.
Yeah, see?
On the Metro North with my dad. You mentioned fare increases because, like you said, you're always getting information, getting data, and then calibrating, and really changing the network. That costs money. And fare increases are something, obviously, that can keep up with inflation and all that kind of thing and help the railroad improve. But at the same time, that can also be a deterrence, because if you're going from point A to point B where it's not New York City and there's not, you're not paying a lot for parking, then a $6 trip from New Haven to Fairfield, why should somebody do that? So how do you balance the fare increases, which help the railroad program and give other benefits, so then people are more excited to ride trains, but also at the same time not increasing fares too much that people will avoid them?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things the MTA does better than any other agency. Our fare increases are pretty consistent,
Right.
So you don't have those sticker shocks. I think many agencies try to hold off those fare increases, and then you see these huge swings, 15, 20%, which is greatly impactful to customers, right? So when we're consistently raising fares every other year, 3% or whatever, 3 to 4%, that's not a huge hit to the customer. Obviously, any fare increase impacts the customer, but I think the value of our service versus driving, things of that nature, that increase is well justified, right? I think it's always going to be cheaper and more efficient to ride our trains whenever possible.
and it's also, better for the environment. And like we mentioned at the beginning of the interview, it's such an equalizer, and it's something that really people can relate to, especially in a city like New York, where everybody's using public transportation. Now, I want to make a transition here. Metro North has so many different projects that you and the team are working on, different ways to entice more people to ride public transportation, but also make the network better for people who are already using public transportation to commute every single day. The first one that I want to talk about came to New York City Transit a few years ago. It's officially being phased in right now. I know there was a conversation some time ago about using Omni on the Metro North Railroad network. It's something that's really helped increase ridership on New York City Transit, because think about it. You no longer have to buy a Metro card. You can simply tap your phone or tap your credit card and ride the New York City subway. How would that look like being implemented into a zone fare system like Metro North?
So we're actually in the process of rolling out all new ticket vending machines on our property, as well as new handhelds for our customers, which is going to allow that same thing. It's going to allow the tap and ride, essentially.
Okay.
Right, you're going to be able to use your credit card to purchase tickets. We obviously have our mobile ticket, which well over 80% of our customers use today. So that's really the opportunity. And now you'll be able to buy tickets from anywhere on Metro North, and you'll also be able to buy them right to Long Island Railroad. So again, creating that regional mobility. Instead of having to buy 2 tickets, now you just buy one from point A to point B for your destination.
So there's not going to be any kind of Omni integration with Metro North?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Okay. Another initiative that Metro North's working on, Penn Station Access. I know you mentioned it before. We brought the Long Island Railroad to our beloved Grand Central. Just like, yay. Yeah, no, but it's definitely such an amazing way to remove the barrier, right? That you have to take 2 subway trains to go to Penn Station after taking a train from New Haven or Poughkeepsie or wherever you're coming from to go out to Long Island. Like again, that suburbs to suburbs commute. You want to bring the New Haven line to Penn Station, which currently it only operates into Grand Central Terminal in New York City. How is that process going? Is there a little bit of an update you can give us? I know we've invested a lot of money into the capital planning for that initiative, and I want to hear more about it.
Yeah, the project's moving along. Right now, we're working with Amtrak to try to be able to provide early service in 27. So it's going to be modified versus what the full rollout's going to be while the project continues. So right now, as planned, it's 31 trains. So we're working closely with them right now. But really what that does is it creates opportunities for those East Bronx residents. Obviously it makes it much easier to get into the city, but really what it does, and really the opportunity, and as I mentioned earlier, the great equalizer is, it really allows those residents to now reach Westchester and Connecticut for those job opportunities, opportunities they don't have today. Right, so that's really the opportunity. That's what we're really focused on, providing some service by the end of 27.
Because it's important beyond people who have cars that want to ride public transportation. There's a lot of people who don't have cars and need to ride public transportation. So that public transportation also serves as their way to progress. So that's really important. As I understand it, the new expansion would send New Haven line trains on the existing Amtrak territory through the Bronx and Queens and into Penn Station, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So can Penn Station handle that kind of capacity? I was there this summer. There's a lot of people, NJ Transit, Amtrak, the Long Island Railroad. How is Penn Station's capacity being altered to make sure that it can accommodate these 31 extra trains a day?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, Long Island now comes into Grand Central.
Right.
So those trains previously went into Penn Station. So that creates some capacity opportunities for us to be able to operate our trains into Penn.
To spread it out.
Correct.
There's not going to be another terminal, though, like Grand Central Madison is its own kind of thing at Grand Central for the Long Island Railroad trains.
It's going to be the existing Penn Station as is. Yep.
That makes sense. A couple other projects. I know that Metro North, we were talking about this before, the kind of regional rail mentality. Instead of it being commuter rail, to go from maybe a big city to a big city, it came out that Metro North might expand to Albany temporarily.
Yep.
That got pulled back. But that's a really cool example of a project where instead of being simply suburb to big city, like you guys are working on, big city to big city is a cool initiative. What was the thoughts behind the Albany project?
Yeah, so I mean that was really one of the governor's initiatives. So Amtrak had to cancel a lot of service as part of the East River Tunnel work. So they were unable to provide any service to those customers. And the governor was looking to provide service to those customers. We were able to step up. Obviously, it was going to take some work. So our plan was early spring of this year, we were going to be able to provide that service. As a result, AMTRA was able to figure out how to provide that service.
Okay.
So because they were able to do it, and that's typically their territory,
Right,
the
that makes
governor
sense.
allowed them just to reinitiate that. But listen, we're ready, able to provide that service. We've done a lot of work on that. And we think the customer demand is there. We see it. A lot of people were excited about us running our trains up there.
Right.
So we're ready and willing whenever it's a possibility.
Right. As we wrap up our conversation, you have changed Metro North. You developed that one Metro North vision when you came into office as president of Metro North. So what is your vision now, looking 10, 20, 30 years out for Metro North and its future?
So right now we're focused on 2033,
Okay.
which is our 50th anniversary. It's something that we're coining our road to gold, right? 50th anniversary. So a huge focus of ours right now is really on the employee engagement
Right.
piece, really getting our employees engaged. And then obviously as we grow and get to 2033 and our 50th anniversary, we just want to continue to build off our successes. We're not trying to do anything crazy.
Or new.
Or
Well,
we
new.
do try to do things new, but really our customers want consistent service. They want reliable service. They want fast service. So those are the things we're really focused on. It's not always going to be this crazy, sexy thing, but I think if we're able to achieve those things and our customers can rely on us and our employees can rely on us, that's really our goal. And then if, there's opportunities to run to Albany, maybe we'll do that. Obviously, we're focused on Penn Station access.
Right.
We're always going to be ready and willing. We have an amazing team here. Whatever the challenge is, we're always going to overcome it. And we're always happy to do exciting things. But again, the focus is really on the consistent operation, and that's where it needs to be.
Because these crazy expansions are cool wherever it makes headlines. You're going to Albany, Penn Station. But really, things like improving the fare structure, which there was reform to the fare structure in January, like we talked about before, and increasing the frequency of trains, that's the stuff that really helps every single commuter. Now, as we kind of wrap up our conversation here, I really appreciate your time. This is, maybe the most challenging question I'm going to ask you. You run a railroad that goes from New York City and New Haven, right? The two cities that claim to be the pizza capitals of the United States, right? So this is a tough one. Where are you getting pizza from along the New Haven line, New York City or New Haven?
So I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
So I'm always going to go to Chicago.
Okay, but if you have to pick between
But if I have
your
to
two
pick,
cities here.
I would probably say Zupari's.
Okay.
Yeah.
New Haven.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Or West Haven. It's in West Haven, right?
Is West Haven?
Yeah.
I haven't been there actually.
You
but
haven't?
No, I haven't. But I've been to Sally's and Frank Pepe's. A nice walk from Union Station in New Haven.
And then I think Colony is always a good one as
Right,
well.
Colony's a good one. Well, it was such an honor to host you on the show today, Mr. Vonashek. I had a great time discussing the Metro North Railroad, your vision for the future of the Metro North, public transportation ridership in general, what we can all do to ride trains and get more people to ride trains. It was such an honor. I really appreciate your time. Political peeps, I'm your host, Arav Kapoor, at Manhattan's Grey Bar Building with Metro North Railroad's president, Justin R. Vonashek. Thanks for joining us.